need more money, connections, associations, and what you would call a relaxed mind? Have you ever wondered why some folks are regarded as high flyers and successful people with results to show? You know the names. It's been found out that the difference between these high flyers and successful people is mindsets and how they think. Welcome to Baseline Beats with Benga. Here is this week's episode.
Let's talk today about something you'd have to deal with regularly, every now and then, all day, every day, all year, every year. But let me ask a question at this juncture. How possible is it to deal on earth without one getting offended? Hardly right? Well, listen to someone's story. It's based on true events. On a rainy December night, Juliet sat in the living room of her family house in Lagos. She was plagued with a secret she had carried for 40 years. It was past Christmas, and that always made her think of her father's house in another part of Lagos. She thought about the house her father built with his own hands, about the hot and dry weather reminiscent of that time of the year, as well as sewing clothes with her younger sister, Janet. She also thought inevitably about what happened in the small of the night several years ago. She thought about what he, a relative she had adored, did to her several years ago. What he did in her childhood bedroom with its two large windows and pink flowery sheets as she lay there feeling powerless. She thought about her parents and felt that swell red-hot anger as two questions kept nagging at her. How couldn't they have known? Why didn't they protect me? Juliet winced. 2 years ago, she felt that burden lighten at least momentarily. When they were in their late 40s, Janet asked Juliet about what she had long suspected happened when they were children. Juliet, after years of therapy, opened up about the abuse for the first time. Several years later, Janet got diagnosed with breast cancer. She told her sister to confront her abuser. Juliet wrote and rewrote a letter to him, trying to say plainly that what he did had left marks throughout her life. His actions had made it hard for her to trust men, sowed the seeds of her marriage breakdown, and made her feel shame too intense to articulate. It made her feel both alienated from her family and deathly afraid of losing them. Further down in the letter, she wrote that she forgave him. Midway through 2017, 6 months after Janet died, and at the height of the #MeToo movement, Juliet sealed the letter in the envelope and mailed it. The relative called her back and expressed remorse. She wept. From then on, Juliet thought she would feel free, but trauma has an uncanny way of stalking its victims. And forgiveness, it turns out, isn't something you choose just once, is it? Sad story, right? Introductions will be in order right here, right now. Thanks for joining me for today's episode. And my name is Benga. From the story and all I have said so far, the episode today borders on forgiveness. Let's then listen to Hello by Adele. Don't touch the dial.
Hello, it's me. I was wondering if after all these years you'd like to meet to go over everything. They say the time's supposed to heal ya, but I ain't done much healing. Hello, can you hear me? I'm in California dreaming about who we used to be when we were younger and free. I've forgotten how it felt before the world fell at our feet. There's such a difference between us and a million miles. Hello from It's so typical of me to talk about myself. I'm sorry. I hope that you're well. Did you ever make it out of that town where nothing ever happened? It's no secret that the both of us are running out of time. So hello from the other side. I must have called 1,000 times to tell you I'm sorry for everything that I've done. But when I call, you never seem to be home. Hello from the outside. At least I can say that I've tried to tell you I'm sorry for breaking your heart. But it don't matter, it clearly doesn't tear you apart anymore.
Well, Adele in that song went on to say, I'm sorry for everything that I've done. Powerful line. From Juliet's story, you can tell that forgiving someone might not be as easy as it sounds. But imagine this statement would help. It's a quote by Lewis Benedictus Smedes, who was a renowned Christian author, ethicist, and theologian. As a matter of fact, he was a professor of theology and ethics for 25 years at a seminary in the United States while he was alive. He said to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you. Whoa, hold on a minute. Why does this seem not to be adding up? I thought the person who committed the atrocity should have been the imprisoned individual here, not the person who got wronged. That's what I would address in this episode. I doubt there is an individual who hasn't been hurt by the actions or words of another. Perhaps a parent constantly criticized you growing up, a colleague sabotaged the project, or your partner had an affair. Or like the case of Juliet, you've had a traumatic experience such as being emotionally abused by someone close to you, or you've suffered a physical abuse. These wounds can leave you with lasting feelings of anger and bitterness, with even vengeance. If you don't practice forgiveness, you might be the one who pays most dearly. Forgiveness, for what it's worth, means, on a general scale, a decision to let go of resentment and thoughts of revenge. Notice, I didn't link these up with feelings or emotions. Forgiveness is a decision. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing or forgetting the harm done to you or making up with the person who caused you harm. But note as well, you are not preoccupied with the person's downfall or how he or she will pay dearly and suffer. The concern here is your peace and well-being. Perhaps people don't realize the benefits of practicing forgiveness is why they hold on to grudges. I'd mention a few at this point. Number one, forgiveness can lead to healthier relationships. When you choose to hold on to past hurts, it could potentially trip up your relationship with other people who most likely don't have an idea you're not being fair on your husband, your wife, your children, and several other close associates if you allow unforgiveness be a hindrance in your relationship with them. More importantly, you are being unfair to yourself because your well-being is pivotal. And in the experience I've shared and those that I've also heard in times past, those who get buried in unforgiveness have feelings of anger, resentment, and they just want to burst out with rage. I mean, I recall seeing a movie several years ago, several years ago as well, that dealt with a woman who just was filled with rage for something the husband did several years ago. And that meant she lashed out on every single person she could think about. Her sisters became victims of her lashing out. The husbands of the sisters became victims of the same lashing out. And several other innocent people who probably had no idea of what this is. And so you put yourself in that situation and position whereby you'd hurt your current relationships. Why? Because you choose, and that's the thing, it's a choice to forgive or not. Because you choose not to forgive and let go. Let's move on to the second point now. Forgiveness can lead to improved mental health. Realize that the battleground is the mind. You want to have a relaxed mind, you want to have a freed up mind, forgiveness is the way. And that's another thing. You see, when you get preoccupied with what you want this person who's done you one wrong or the other to suffer, your peace of mind becomes exchanged with that preoccupation to ensure that the person suffers for the wrongs that he or she did, and you won't be able to think about your progress, your well-being, your peace of mind. And see, the mind works in such a way that you are preoccupied with one thing at a time, and so it's pretty difficult to think about you making progress and at the same time be preoccupied with the person who's done you one wrong or the other suffer the consequences of such actions. You see, you either get preoccupied with your peace of mind and let it go and forgive, or you are preoccupied with the person suffering the consequences of the actions and your peace of mind is exchanged. You choose. And finally, improved self-esteem also happens when you choose the way of forgiveness. You find that a low or damaged self-esteem is what you'd find with those who hold grudges and don't let go. They have the tendency to lash out at anyone and almost everyone. They blame people for the past, innocent people who most likely have no idea. You don't want to fall into this trap. Other benefits include less anxiety, stress and hostility, lower blood pressure, fewer symptoms of depression, a stronger immune system, improved heart health, amongst others. And I must say, these are according to research by medical experts. In the final analysis, forgiveness can help you embrace peace, hope, gratitude, and joy. It can lead you down the path of physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. These are essential. To wrap this up, Mahatma Gandhi said, "The weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attitude of the strong." I wouldn't agree any less. I appreciate your feedbacks. Share them with me via socials at Ben_Olugbenga. Practice forgiveness today and every day and be free. Bye for now.
Baseline Beats with Benga is a wrap for this week. For questions, concerns, and feedback, reach him on Twitter and Instagram at Ben_Olugbenga. Until Baseline Beats with Benga comes away again next week, keep winning and enjoy the rest of the week.